Because you do have a lot of really interesting ancestors, don't you, on your English side?
Well, I have here in my hand a genealogy, right? And I was studying it once. Let's see, we have to go back 14 generations. Wait, well, it was my grandfather's genealogy, so it has to start with General Lee William Fulton, born in Alexander, Illinois, died in Los Alamos, New Mexico, where they make bombs that blow up the desert. Um, his father was Lee William Fulton, who was born in Alexander, Illinois. And his grandfather was Dr. Lee Washington Fulton, who was born in Loudoun County, Virginia, in 1836. So before the Civil War, we were Virginians. And Loudoun County, we've talked about, I think we mentioned, it's like they have school board events there that become quite heated and interesting. And Loudoun County is like, it's the edge of the Appalachian people, right? The Fultons, we'll actually find out the Fulton name they came from Ulster, right? So they come from Ireland. Let's see, that's generation number 3. We'll stick with the Fultons. Generation number 4, William Fulton, born in Loudoun County in 1807. Generation number 5, Robert Fulton, born in Loudoun County. Okay, we're still in Loudoun County. We've got a lot of these. Okay, and then of course the generations get longer, so I have to do more pages. Oh, look at that. We got some Wincups in there. They're Dutch, right? The Wincups, I think they do they come from Gelderland? Charles Campbell. He's one of the Scots that my dad got really excited about. Okay, here we're now at generation number 7. David Fulton, born in Ireland. So that's where those Fultons come in. Let's see. There's a Van de Grift. Wait. Robert. Okay, so obviously generations fan out. You fan out. Oh, and now generation number 8. Garrett Winthrop, gentleman, born in Albany, New York. Daughter to... We're going back in time. Do you see the going back in time? I promise the payoff in this is good, you guys. Back in time.
There's a point.
Back in time. Oh, generation number 9. Cornelius Everest Winthrop, born in Wickerum by Aden, Gelderland province, Holland. So, in fact, like when in Ninth's Tale, when Ulrich von Liechtenstein pretends to be from Gelderland. Okay, that's hilarious joke because Ulrich von Liechtenstein is a real poet. Well, okay, that's another stream. But okay, and the Wincups were in New Amsterdam, Holland. Okay, back. See, no, I was doing this with my ancestry. One, because obviously I'm a historian. 2, there's so many people. I'm down in generation. There's a Rachel who was born in Ulster, married a Campbell, who was from Scotland. To generation number 10, we've got Everett Wincup, born in Holland. That's at 528, right? So you're doing this exponential fan of all of the generations. It's like how many people are related to whom? It's like if you go back far enough, you start indeed like King Charles being related to everybody. And I was, I was doing this and thinking, we've got Irish, we've got Dutch, we've got generation number 11. Oh, this one sounds almost interesting. Richard Hawkins, born 1560. Whatever could you mean? Richard Hawkins, born 1561 in Plymouth, Devonshire. Died April 17th, 1622 in England. He was the son of John Hawkins and Catherine Gonson. Oh, and now we've gotten really thin on the ground. That's the only generation. That's generation number 11 from my grandfather. He's number 1 in this list. And more about Richard Hawkins. Occupation: naval commander. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Who this John Hawkins was? Generation number 12. John Hawkins, born 1532 in Plymouth, Devonshire, England. Ooh, my. That sounds posh. Devonshire, Plymouth. Wait.
What do you talk like this?
I don't know. I mean, so you realize we've gone from Fulton to Winthrop to Hawkins. That there's 4 generations. I did like map this all out at one point. There's 4 generations that the daughters are marrying into the line. So we don't have any direct Hawkins men in our ancestry. There was a Fulton who married a da-da-da who married a, so, but this is direct lineage.
Okay.
I wonder if you're going to have to apologize too by the end of this. Okay.
Probably everybody.
I am going to claim the ability to play the fiddle. No, okay. So John Hawkins, born 1532, Plymouth, Devonshire. Have you all been looking this up yet? All 6 of you watching. No eye patch. Mel, Naval Command equals pirate. We're getting close, Mike 1000. Died November 12th, 1595. Ooh, at sea off Puerto Rico. That's this John Hawkins, born in 1532 Plymouth. Now, I will admit that the first time I read this, I'm like, Hawkins, okay, that's an English name. I'm still looking for exciting ancestors, and I went back to generation number 13. William Hawkins, born probably in Plymouth, Devonshire, died 1554. He was the son of John Hawkins and Joan Amados. And then I got excited because that loud sounded Spanish or something. Oh, that's cool, maybe.
Yes.
John Hawkins, born, this is as far back as my grandfather was able to get it. John Hawkins, another one, born about 1450, died 1488, who had married Joan Amados. At which point, not knowing anything about Hawkinses, but Amados sounding quite cool and possibly Spanish and therefore pretty nifty, I Googled him. And then found out that I'd missed the one that was actually interesting.
What'd you find, Doc?
Oh, well, look, we could just sit here like a monkey smoking, but I'll show you his
Did you put crack monkey
I
up?
put crack monkey up because of course all of this, I've got some books to recommend tonight. One of them is The Age of Intoxication, Origins of the Global Drug Trade. Highly recommended by Benjamin Breen. This is going to take us to Portugal.
Highly recommended. See what you did there?
Oh, I did it. You just did. I am completely sober. You, however, had you got taken by pirates, and I have to like claim high ground here by actually being one. Okay, so Benjamin Breen, The Origins of the Global Drug Trade, and here's the crack monkey whom you see on screen smoking tobacco. Well, where did tobacco come from? How do we even know about tobacco? Do you remember who it was that we learned from tobacco about?
No. I've drunk too much rum on the beach.
Come on. I call you by it every single day when we write poetry. Hey, Drakes. She's too drunk. Sir Francis Drake.
True.
Sir Francis Drake, whom everyone's heard of, right? Because you've heard of Sir Francis Drake, right? Oh, come on.
Well, yeah, I have.
Work with me here.
I think I have, yeah.
Maybe you've heard of Sir Francis Drake. Maybe you've heard of his famous. They're actually not cousins. It's said to be cousins, but John Hawkins was actually a little older. I'm showing here now Sir John Hawkins' coat of arms.
Yes.
It's a stomper. It's a stonker. Right. If you want to learn more in detail about Sir Francis Drake and, yes, my direct ancestor, Sir John Hawkins, Pillaging the Empire, Global Piracy on the High Seas by Chris Lane is a recommended. It explains why Hawkins died drowned off Puerto Rico.
Wasn't very popular.
I actually know. I think they were just engaged in piracy and he drowned.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? But no one jumped in to save him.
I don't know. So, John Hawkins' son, Sir Richard Hawkins, I need to read this, wrote A Voyage into the South Sea, published in 1622. It recounted his experiences in great detail.
So this is the Drake
yes!
of why we're called the Drakes. For everyone who's asked me so far, why are you called Drakes? This is why.
Actually, I mean, we could be rappers. I do have another dog right now who's kind of named Drake, and so whenever I'm walking him in the park in Chicago, and everyone's like, "What's your dog's name?" and I say Drake, there's a difference of response depending on who I'm talking to. I will say certain of my neighbors are quite delighted and start singing or telling me about their DJ gigs. That's for real. One of them did. So the thing is, the Drake thing actually was, Drake is the Welsh animal, right? The dragon. So my dragon common room was always innocently the sort of corgi Wales, dragony fantasy, such like that. But as we've learned sailing on the Mosaic Ark, everything always connects to everything else. And yes, Sir Francis Drake is in there. Now, the thing is, when I originally found out about Sir John Hawkins, I just thought, oh, that's cool. He and Sir Francis Drake were admirals in helping Queen Elizabeth. Let's see. I have Queen Elizabeth. Oh, no, wait. That's the wrong one. Or is it the right one? This one is...
Which one?
This was number 2.
Oh, yes.
Right. No, so no, I should have this one, the rainbow one. That Hawkins and Drake were famous because they helped Elizabeth defeat the Spanish. In 1588, when Philip, who was her half sister's widow, right? Philip of Spain is trying to invade and claim his kingdom because, well, he'd been married to Mary. And Drake and Hawkins, and I forgot what the other one is, but there were 3 admirals that helped like burn all the Spanish ships. They're a little bit helped with a windstorm as well. So I was originally quite delighted, and if you look up Hawkins family lineages online, that will be the thing that they're celebrating for the most part.
But I feel that there's something else to this story now.
you know that
you don't look like you're about to celebrate much.
You know that skit.
Do I need to get rum? Should I have brought the bottle in here?
Let me just do this a little more. If I'm gonna make confession now, me hearties, I don't like rum.
Spill the tea. Spill it.
Tea? What tea? I am a red-blooded American. My ancestors have been here since I told you before the revolution. I am DAR on all sides of my family, and German. But that we don't talk about that.
The hit there. That's still hiding. Okay, so I have questions.
Do you?
I do. What kind of admiral and what kind of navy did Elizabeth have?
Made up. Yes. She made up her own navy.
Oh, she made it up.
I think so, because I don't. That's a good question. I don't think the English were much of a sea power before Elizabeth. They're yeah. I know off the top of my head, I realized that they'd been a sea power. Well, no, not so. So we've got a lot of hanging parentheses here right now. I've made jokes about how the English haven't had their own kings basically since 1066. I mean, literally, Edward the Confessor. When he dies, he has no children. There's a little battle or two over who gets to succeed him. William the Conqueror shows up from Normandy and takes control of the kingdom. The Normans, right? Although, of course, before Edward, part of the reason that the kingdom is so weak is they're weak and rich. They've been fighting off the Danes for centuries, and the foundation of the English Navy was, in the Victorian period, they looked back to King Alfred, who had fortified Wessex, which is like between the part of the country where your people come from and the part of the country where my people come from. Right? It's the middle of the southern bit. That Alfred had fortified Wessex effectively against the Vikings, aka Danes, to the extent that when the Danes settle in England, at least they don't settle in Wessex, they settle a little further north and east, right? So they settle in what's the Danelaw, which is basically it's not East Anglia, it's some of East Anglia, but up to Northumbria, so like York, Viking York. The Vikings take over. So in part of the island, they haven't even been ruled by English kings. Well, okay, so then Alfred and his son Edward reconquer the rest of the island. There's some English kings. Ethelred in the early 11th century ends up having to pay a lot of money to the Vikings, the Danes. And by the time Edward the Confessor dies, there's Danes claiming the throne And then there's Normans claiming the throne. And basically the English haven't had an English king since then.